Jason Whitlock.
I see you, Jason.
Whitlock.
I think Russell Wilson, his agent, and his wife have some real issues with Seattle. Russell Wilson should do what Tom Brady does. Take less so he can be surrounded by X, Y, and Z. And what Russell Wilson and his agent are saying is like, you know what? If y'all bring Bill Belichick over here, I will do that. Because I totally trust Bill Belichick to put the right pieces around. What are you going to do with the money I leave on the table? Is it going to be well spent? I think there's a lack of trust here.
I'm Jason Whitlock.
I see you, Jason.
Whitlock. All right, welcome back. Whitlock and Wiley joined now by TJ Houshmandzadeh. Time for a big story. Let's move to Seattle, where the deadline Russell Wilson gave the Seahawks has arrived, but his new contract hasn't. Reportedly, if a deal isn't in place by midnight, Russ won't sign until after the season. But according to Pro Football Talk, the team now believes that Wilson wants to play elsewhere, adding fuel to the fire. Tyrann Mathieu tweeted this weekend that Russ wants to play in New York. As I said in the setup, would you blame Russell Wilson for wanting out of Seattle? And I would have to say no, because he's done so much there single-handedly on the offensive side of the ball, and he's taken so much abuse from the defensive side of the ball that I think he has some ill feelings towards Seattle. And I think his wife possibly wants to be in New York, and taking those ill feelings and her desire to be on the East Coast, yeah, I kind of buy Russell Wilson wants out of Seattle, and I don't blame him.
I don't blame him either. I get to the same place you do, but I get there differently. I think this is a no-brainer for Russell Wilson to leave Seattle on and off the field. Off the field, it's obvious. I played with a great before. And it seemed like daily he would come to practice. It was like, y'all better just ball out and get up out this small market, because opportunities lost. They're not even thinking about the money they were making every single opportunity and off the field and the endorsements and the signings. They were thinking of ones that they weren't being thought of for, whether it's the commercials or the, hey, can you just drive down here Madison Avenue and do this real quick? And he used to always talk about that. So I know Russell Wilson is hearing that from maybe his agent or other people in his camp. But on the field, this team is the only team in today's NFL that still runs the ball more than it throws it. Now, that may sound like a winning formula in the moment, Coach. We won the game because we ran the ball. We're zigging when everyone else is zagging. But you know when it's not a winning moment? When it's contract time. And those numbers, as good as they sound, Russell Wilson is as great as you are in terms of impact. Can the numbers be more? They could be more, but they're deflated in part because they're the only team out there still running the ball.
Baltimore, but I hear you.
Yeah, only team. Like, it would be different if we had a camp of teams with us. And then you talk about the two teams next to them. What are we talking about? Tennessee, trying to protect, and Baltimore. Tennessee, Baltimore, and the Seahawks. Do we have the same quarterbacks? No. Why are we running the same style of offense? So Russell Wilson has a great argument in both cases. I say he leaves.
I mean, we're all in agreement here. It's, if you go back to the season, after week 2, Pete Carroll says, I think Russ is over trying. He's trying to do too much. Just get rid of the ball. And then later in the year, we tried to be a throwing team, but we can't. So basically, we're trying to give it to you, Russell, and let you be a throwing quarterback, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, but I don't believe you can get it done. He's trying to take control of his career. If you can get to New York, he's going to be a global superstar. After football, everything would transition very smoothly. It's almost like taking a page out of Antonio Brown's playbook without going public with it. He's not signing the deal with the Seahawks. He put this artificial deadline out there knowing they're not going to meet it. They're going to franchise him. I doubt if they ever trade him. And it's going to get ugly, but everything is going to be behind the scenes. He's still going to do his interviews. He still go Hawks at the end because that's just who he is. But, yeah, he wants out of there. And a lot of it, if you just look at some of the things that Pete Carroll has done and said, Russell Wilson's not going to say anything, but I'm sure it's rubbed him the wrong way.
Let's have a little poll real quick. In terms of production, who is better, Russell Wilson or Dak Prescott? I think we all know what that is, right? In terms of popularity, like Q rating out there, getting love, it's too close. And if I'm Russell Wilson, the way he plays the game, the way he talks the game, the way he wins the press conference, like you said, I have global superstardom exuding from me if I get into the right situation, the right place. Madison Avenue will eat that up.
The thing I would say, I won't blame him for wanting out. I'm not 1,000% sure, though, that's the right place to be in terms of wanting out. It can be worse than what Russell Wilson has. Look, he can go. Let's say you go to New York. Let's say is Pete Carroll coming with? Because Pete Carroll, whether we like it or not, is a damn good coach.
He is
and
that.
is more proven than these other places you may end up. So you can go to Jacksonville. I don't know where other than the Giants, perhaps. But you can start losing games.
Could he be looking at it from this perspective? Where are the Giants at? They're at the bottom. He can really validate himself now. He can really put himself up here. The Giants are at the bottom. Yeah. They have nowhere to go but up. So if I get the Giants to where they want to go, now everybody's looking at me in an entirely different light now, because when I got to New York, they were here. Now the defense won't get the credit. It won't go to Richard Sherman and Earl Thomas and Camp. I'm going to get a lot of the credit. We know as athletes, we all have an ego. You just express it differently. And so that could be part of it as well.
And look at the flashes they got out of Eli even last year. He's thinking to himself, you put me in that system. You talking about Eli is looking okay. What would I do? Eli had the highest completion percentage of his career in that offense. But then you couple him with Saquon Barkley. I mean, he has to be thinking that this offense will give him enough where he can go out there and establish himself.
Pete Carroll is a hell of a coach that runs a hell of a defense that has put Russell Wilson in a position to win a lot of football games. And again, could Russell do more? Should he have been provided more support in Seattle? Absolutely. But let's don't kid ourselves. This isn't Kevin Durant saying, I want out of OKC and I'm going to Golden State. This is, I want out of Seattle and I want to go to the New York Giants that have had a couple of nice, lucky runs to Super Bowls. But other than that, there's been some struggle.
And that's the beauty. They struggle more than they don't.
Yeah.
And they still love Eli. Guess what Russell's thinking? If I just get one of these, look how they're going to love me. If I even get them close to where they were, they're going to love me. And if you look at Seattle, this is a third rounder who was there the same time they paid a Matt Flynn. You needed to hire Russell Wilson. He may have felt like I'm not at my supreme confidence early on. Now it's time to shine.
Let me give you another analogy.
You bring up Kevin Durant. Yeah. What if he leaves Golden State and goes to the Knicks? Isn't it like Russell Wilson? Not exactly like Golden State, but going to the Knicks.
I see this more as like, hey, Lakers fans are going to be happy. LeBron's here. Are they? Are they happy?
That's not Russell. Russell wouldn't give them the ammunition to try to undermine them. LeBron's giving people ammunition, unfortunately.
No. Russell Wilson doesn't come with that. Everything that LeBron has come with here.
He's going to New York, and he will want a massive contract. And he's going to have to deliver on that if he went to New York with Super Bowls. Getting them to the playoffs won't be enough at the price tag he would command.
Well, you know what's funny about this article? It was nuanced. They said,
he would take less. Yeah, that's right.
It's Seattle, but in New York, I might go down here. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's crazy.
But as athletes, I'm sure he thinks I get there, we going to win a Super Bowl. He doesn't think he's going to fail.
All right, coming up. If you thought last week was rough on Aaron Rodgers, just wait until you hear what Brett Favre has to say. We get into the latest Packers drama next.